Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. I love this part of the week, getting to really dig in
Yeah,
to the source material, and today is no different.
right.
We are uh, exploring the events
Yeah.
following the crucifixion,
Okay.
specifically that strange Sabbath when it felt like the whole world was holding its breath.
Yeah, I think you're right about it. It really was a unique moment in history.
And the chapter we're looking at, it's called In Joseph's Tomb.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, it is absolutely packed with historical and spiritual insights.
It is a fascinating chapter for sure.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about what was going through everyone's minds during that time?
Well, you've got
Between the crucifixion and the resurrection.
the disciples who are absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
They've just seen their leader, their teacher,
Right,
the person they thought was going to, free Israel,
right.
executed in the most brutal way imaginable.
Well, they've been with him for 3 years. I mean, they've left everything to follow him.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to even grasp the depth of their despair.
Absolutely.
But then you've got the religious leaders, the ones who orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, what were they thinking?
Yeah. Were they feeling a sense of victory?
Maybe momentarily.
Or
Yeah.
were they starting to have second thoughts?
This chapter really delves into the psychology of that moment.
And that's exactly what we're going to explore today.
Right.
This in-between time, this
Yeah.
Sabbath,
Yeah.
where everything was hanging in the balance.
I love how the chapter begins. It describes Jesus resting in the tomb,
Yeah.
having completed his work of redemption.
It's almost like a mirror image of the original Sabbath rest after creation.
Yes. It's this beautiful parallel,
Yeah.
God resting after creating the world and now Jesus resting
Yeah.
after completing the work of redemption.
And there's this sense of cosmic peace.
Oh, absolutely. The chapter hints at this incredible joy in heaven. The angels are rejoicing because they know what this means for humanity.
It's like this victory that echoes through all of creation.
And it all ties back to this idea of the restitution of all things.
Right.
This vision of a restored creation where that Sabbath rest becomes eternal.
So you have this like cosmic sense of completion, but down on earth,
Right.
things are much more complicated.
Oh, yeah. Much more complicated.
You got these eyewitnesses, people whose lives were forever changed by what they saw at the crucifixion.
And it's not just that they saw it, it's the
Right.
way they reacted to it.
Right, like the Roman centurion.
Oh, yes, the centurion.
This hardened soldier, a man of war.
He's seen it all on, countless executions.
And yet he's moved to say, truly, this was the Son of God.
It's this incredible declaration, and it's not whispered.
Yeah.
It's spoken with authority.
It's like in that moment, he sees beyond the physical.
Yeah, he's confronted with something that transcends his understanding.
And it's not just him. There were others too, like Simon of Cyrene who carried the cross,
Oh, yes, Simon.
and the thief crucified alongside Jesus.
And they're all from such different backgrounds,
Mm.
different walks of life, yet they're all drawn to Jesus.
It really challenges the idea that faith is just about blind belief,
That's right. These people weren't followers of Jesus before this moment.
right? They were just caught up in the events of the day.
Yeah.
And yet they experienced this profound encounter with the divine.
I think it raises some really interesting questions about what authentic faith really is.
Yeah, is it about following rules and rituals, or is
Yeah.
it about this personal encounter with something greater than ourselves?
And what strikes me is how
It's-
often we build up these barriers around ourselves.
Yeah.
Our assumptions, our prejudices, our fear of the unknown.
And it takes something as powerful as witnessing the crucifixion to break through those barriers.
And that's where we see this really fascinating contrast with the reactions of the religious leaders.
Aye.
While some people are starting to question everything they thought they knew, the priests and rulers seem more determined than ever to hold on to their power.
It's almost like they're refusing to see what's right in front of them.
They're clinging to the old ways.
We have these huge events, the sky darkening, the earthquake,
Right.
the temple veil being torn in two.
And they seem completely blind to the significance of it all.
It's almost as if they're actively resisting the truth.
The chapter describes their fear, their jealousy, their desperate attempts to contain Jesus, even in death.
They quickly bury him before the Sabbath,
Right.
using religious law as justification.
But it's clear that there's something much darker at play.
Yeah, they're terrified of what his death might unleash.
Exactly. They're trying to bury the problem, literally.
But it's already too late.
Yes. It's a powerful reminder of how fear can drive us to make irrational choices.
It's like they're building a tomb.
Yeah.
Not just for Jesus, but for their own hearts and minds.
Oh, precisely.
Okay, so we've got these contrasting reactions.
Yeah.
Then there's this other layer.
Okay. What's that?
Even in their attempts to control the narrative, the religious leaders unwittingly fulfill prophecy.
Oh, you're talking about the Roman soldiers?
Yeah, they go to break the legs of the crucified.
Yeah, it was standard procedure.
It was a brutal act meant to hasten death.
But when they get to Jesus, they find that he's already dead.
So they don't break his legs.
And that fulfills the Passover law.
Right, regarding the unbroken bones of the sacrificial lamb.
It's like every detail is orchestrated.
It's hard to deny the symbolic weight of that moment.
It really underscores that this wasn't just a random execution.
Yeah.
This was a deliberate sacrifice woven into the very fabric of history.
And then there's the piercing of his side.
Right. Another seemingly brutal act that confirms his death.
But it also leads to this unexpected outcome.
What's that?
Blood and water flowing from the wound.
Oh, yes. That's significant.
The chapter points out that this not only serves as evidence of his death, but also foreshadows the sacraments.
Baptism and communion.
It's like even in death, Jesus is pointing towards new life, a new way of connecting with the divine.
It's a beautiful image of cleansing and renewal.
And it directly contradicts the rumors the priests later try to spread.
Yeah, the rumors that Jesus didn't actually die on the cross.
It's like the truth has a way of emerging no matter how hard people try to suppress it.
It's almost as if the more they try to suppress it, the more undeniable it becomes.
Okay, so we've talked about the eyewitnesses and the religious leaders.
Yeah.
But what about the disciples?
Oh, the disciples. They're in a state of utter devastation.
It's heartbreaking to imagine what they must have been going through.
Trying to make sense of this loss.
Their leader, their teacher, their friend.
The one they thought was going to change the world.
And now he's gone.
Yeah.
It's such a human response, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We build our lives around these beliefs, these hopes.
Yeah.
And then something happens that just shatters our world.
How do you even begin to pick up the pieces?
And yet, even in their grief, the disciples' love for Jesus doesn't waver.
No, it's stronger than ever.
And that love compels them to honor him.
Yeah.
To ensure he receives a proper burial.
And that's where these unexpected figures step in. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus.
Right.
They're wealthy, influential members of the Sanhedrin.
The very council that condemned Jesus.
Exactly.
And yet they risk everything to care for his body.
It's a truly courageous act.
They approach Pilate. They provide a costly burial mixture.
Right.
And they even offered Joseph's own tomb as a resting place for Jesus.
It's incredible.
It's a testament to the power of faith.
Absolutely.
They're defying societal expectations.
Yeah.
Risking their reputations, potentially their lives.
Yeah, all because they recognize something extraordinary in Jesus.
Their actions speak volumes about the conflict within the Sanhedrin.
Right. It suggests that not everyone was on board with condemning Jesus.
Right, there were those who saw the truth.
They were willing to stand up for it.
Even at a great personal cost.
It's a glimmer of hope in the midst of this darkness.
Absolutely a reminder that even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
there are always those who choose compassion and justice.
That's a beautiful thought.
So as the Sabbath descends on Jerusalem,
Yeah.
we have this sense of anticipation, a city holding its breath, waiting for what comes next.
It's a pivotal moment in history, a turning point.
What are some of the key questions that we should be asking ourselves?
I think we need to consider the motivations of the people involved.
Okay.
Why did some embrace Jesus while others rejected him?
And how did fear and ambition shape their choices?
Excellent question.
What does this story tell us about the nature of faith?
And about the enduring power of hope.
Those are some heavy questions we've got ahead of us.
Yeah, but they're worth exploring.
I think so too.
What do you think?
I think this is going to be a really fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig in.
Let's do it.
It really is a fascinating look at how people react in extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah, and the chapter goes on to describe this somber atmosphere in Jerusalem.
Oh, right. It's so different from the chaos of the crucifixion.
It's like the city itself is in mourning.
Yeah, a heavy silence has fallen over everything.
And in the midst of all this, there's this incredible symbolic event, the tearing of the temple veil.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful moment.
What do you make of that?
Well, the veil, it separated the Holy of Holies.
Right, most sacred part of the temple.
Exactly, from the rest of the temple.
So it was like a barrier.
Right, a barrier between humanity and God.
And now it's torn in two.
It's a dramatic visual representation of what's just happened spiritually.
Like the old order is being broken down.
The old sacrificial system is no longer valid.
And the way to God is now open to everyone.
It's really a pivotal moment in history.
And it's interesting to see how people react to this event.
Oh, yeah, some people are completely shaken.
They don't know what to make of it.
But others are drawn to search the scriptures.
Like they're looking for answers.
Exactly. And for some of them, those prophecies about the Messiah, they suddenly start to make sense.
Like they're seeing Jesus in a whole new light.
It's amazing how the scriptures can speak to us across time.
It's like they were written for this very moment.
Yeah.
But for others, this event just brings confusion and fear.
Right. They come to the temple seeking healing.
Like they always have.
But now their hopes are dashed.
Because Jesus is gone.
And it's not just that he's physically gone.
Yeah.
There's this sense that the world is darker without him. Many of the people who had called for his death,
Right.
they're now filled with remorse.
Like they're starting to realize the weight of what they've done.
And they can't escape the consequences.
It makes you think about the power of our choices.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know how easily we can get caught up in the moment and fail to see the long-term impact of our actions?
But even in this darkness,
Yeah.
there are these flickers of hope.
Oh, tell me about it.
There are people who are starting to question the official narrative.
They're not buying what the religious leaders are selling.
Right. They're drawn to the stories of Jesus.
His miracles, his teachings, his love.
It's like a seed has been planted.
A seed of doubt.
A seed that will eventually grow into something much bigger,
But for now, it's hidden beneath the surface.
waiting for the right time to sprout.
And while all this is happening, the religious leaders are anything but peaceful.
Oh no, they're consumed with anxiety.
They're terrified of the rumors about Jesus' resurrection.
It's like they can't escape their fear.
They go to Pilate and they demand that a guard be placed at the tomb.
And they even want it sealed.
It's incredible how desperate they are.
It's like they're trying to control something that's completely out of their control.
They think they can contain Jesus even in death.
But their actions just make his resurrection that much more undeniable.
It's this incredible irony.
Yeah.
The more they try to suppress the truth, the more it shines through.
Their fear is actually working against them.
They're so focused on maintaining their power that they're blind to the spiritual reality unfolding around them.
It's like they're digging their own grave.
And they don't even realize it.
It's most comical if it weren't so tragic.
It really highlights the futility of trying to fight against the tide of truth.
And so as the Sabbath comes to a close, we're left with this incredible sense of anticipation.
It's the calm before the storm.
Yeah, we know what's coming.
But for those who were living through it,
Right.
it must have been a time of intense uncertainty.
A time of waiting and wondering.
What was going to happen next? It's almost like they're building this elaborate cage for a lion that's already escaped.
Right.
It's just a matter of time before the truth breaks free.
And as we approach the end of this Sabbath, we're left with this incredible sense of anticipation.
Everything is hanging in the balance.
We know what's coming.
But imagine experiencing this for the first time.
Yeah.
The weight of grief.
Yeah.
The uncertainty.
And yet this tiny flicker of hope struggling to stay lit.
It's a powerful moment.
What do you think sustained people through that darkness?
Well, you know, their faith has to play a huge role. This unwavering belief in Jesus and his promises.
And the memory of his teachings.
Yeah.
His miracles, his love.
Maybe it was the sense that something extraordinary had happened.
Right.
Even in death.
Something that had the power to change everything.
It's like they were clinging to a thread of hope.
A thread that they couldn't quite let go of.
I think it makes us really confront our own understanding of faith.
Oh, yeah. What does it mean to truly believe?
When everything around you seems to be falling apart.
Is it blind faith? Or is it a conscious choice to keep hoping?
Even when the world seems determined to crush that hope.
Those are tough questions.
Yeah, but they're at the heart of this story.
Right.
The story of the resurrection isn't just about a historical event.
Yeah.
It's about the triumph of hope over despair.
Of light over darkness.
It's a story that speaks to the deepest longings of the human heart.
This longing for something beyond this light.
And it's a story that continues to resonate with us today.
Absolutely.
Challenging us to confront our own darkness.
And to embrace the possibility of new beginnings.
The possibility of transformation.
Of finding light in the most unexpected places.
So as we come to the end of this deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Right. What resonated with you?
What questions are you left with?
Share your insights and reflections in the comments below.
We'd love to continue this conversation with you.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep questioning.
Keep searching.
And keep diving deep.